All right, well, El Clasico, which is coming on ESPN, is just about 5 weeks away. More excited for this edition of El Clasico than I think we were for the last two, given the troubles Barcelona had. Real Madrid, of course, had everything right. So let's look in depth, I suppose, at the two top teams, even though we have 5 weeks to go, but we like to get previous here. Starting with Real Madrid, Rodri, because they are absolutely perfect so far. They're finally back at the Santiago Bernabeu. We're shocked they won again, as we touched on about against Real Betis. But thoughts on, I guess, just how Real Madrid are once again. I know this sounds like we shouldn't be surprised, but how they really still are looking unbeatable, almost untouchable. I think for me, what I've enjoyed seeing is the rotation that Carlo Ancelotti has done with the team. We know Carlo Ancelotti is not one to tinker too much with his, starting 11s. But now I think, of course, Real Madrid did make some signings in the summer transfer window, but with everything that was going on with Barcelona, not necessarily was it overshadowed, but a little bit, because apart from maybe Rudiger, there wasn't any that was like, wow, this is a main key player, but when they had won La Liga and the Champions League, you know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But for example, in the match against Betis, we saw Rodrigo get a start, your namesake, but with a Y. I got a lot of time for Rodrigo. We saw Dani Carvajal come back in, Camavinga as well, getting switched out and in that midfield. But someone we definitely have to talk about who's hit the ground running too is Tchouaméni. You've been very impressed by him, haven't you?
He's massive. I mean, he's going to be the key player for Real Madrid in the next 10 years for me. And I know that all the people here would comment like, what are you talking about? He's only 3 games at Real Madrid has only played. But, he's so good. He's so good. He made forget Casemiro in less than 2 legs of this La Liga, which is something great. And this is something that not all the players could make. So that's why for me, he's he's really intelligent. He's very powerful in terms that, physically, I mean, he's someone that he's not from this planet. I mean, if you see him, when you see him in person, you would say like, my God, this guy is so big, so great. And that's why, when Casemiro left to Man United, everyone in Madrid were like, why are Real Madrid not gonna sign anyone? And Real Madrid said to all the people like, we don't need to sign anyone because we do trust in Tchouaméni, and that's why we pay more than 80 million euros for Tchouaméni. We trust in him, and he's going to be the key player in this defensive midfield for Real Madrid this year, despite the fact that they don't have a natural replacement for Tchouaméni, because in that term, the Real Madrid has the same problem that they had with Casemiro, because Casemiro was so tired in the past 2-3 seasons because he didn't have any replacement. And now Tchouaméni, he will have the same problem, and Real Madrid will face that problem with Camavinga trying to get him back to replace Tchouaméni in some plays or in some games, and he will try Ancelotti to get even back to Toni Kroos to that position. Let's see how they evolutionate in this way. But the good thing of Real Madrid this year is that they managed to rotate a little bit more, because the youngsters have grown a little bit more, like Valverde, like Camavinga, like Rodrigo, and now I think they are more than ready than last year to play a little bit more and give some rest to Modric, Kroos, Benzema, or whoever.
I mean, it is amazing because I remember, of course, being in Vigo when that news dropped about Casemiro going to Manchester United, and I got to speak to some of the Real Madrid fans and they were heartbroken naturally, because Casemiro, I mean, he felt like one of their own. He's spent majority of his career at Madrid. He's won whatever it was that they needed to win, and then did it all over again and again, so, but what I realized is that they were heartbroken sentimentally, but they were actually, in terms of what was going on the pitch, they weren't that worried. And I think that's what Ancelotti was trying to say.
They understood that Casemiro was 30 years old, and Man United were offering so much money, like almost 70 million euros for a guy that won everything at Real Madrid. So they were like, okay, it's not a bad sell for Real Madrid, and we have Tchouaméni, and you have to be confident on Tchouaméni. So that's why they were in that worry at all.
So as you said, though, it's not a like-for-like replacement for Casemiro. And even, Ancelotti did say he could never ask Tchouaméni or anybody else in that midfield right now to play like Casemiro. So are we saying that even though a figure like Casemiro, and we spoke to Vinny Jr. after that match, and he even said that it just made them feel better knowing that they had someone like him. He called him like a bit of a godfather, like that big brother that, if anyone came after you, he would be the first one running to help defend you. Are we saying that Real Madrid then don't necessarily need that kind of presence? Or maybe you'd like to see them get someone like Casemiro back in that 11, or at least in the squad, maybe in January or next summer?
No, I don't see that. I don't see Real Madrid signing a guy, to get these issues on the pitch. Because for me, Casemiro, for Real Madrid, Casemiro was unique in that way. And that's something that Tchouaméni will have to learn in the next years. You're not gonna tell Tchouaméni to be just like Casemiro, because Tchouaméni is different. He's a different player for a different country. He's, for me, even better than Casemiro because he attacks even more, and he's more like a box to box, depending on the moment of the game. So that's why he will have to learn that, non-football language to talk to the referees and to talk to the rivals, because in that way Casemiro was so experienced and so good at that. Because after that, all the fans here in Spain would say, my God, Casemiro is leaving Real Madrid with only 2 red cards, and both red cards were just after 2 yellow cards. I mean, no red card direct for Casemiro, and he was a really hard midfield.
Yeah.
So that's why we were all like, okay, my God, Casemiro has to learn that out of Real Madrid or their coaches. So that's why he still has plenty of time to do that.
He does indeed. Well, as if Real Madrid weren't impressive enough even without Casemiro, someone else who we definitely have to talk about, and I know everyone feels like they talk about him, but Vinny Jr., let us stick a pin on that man. I just love watching him, and I love watching him pitch side. I know everybody can't be in the positions that we get to see it, but it's just the pace and the flair that he does play football with is just it never fails to amaze me. And I know that sometimes you would say it's not really a good thing because it opens defenders to come after him. Sometimes you waste too much time with the Joga Bonito. But one interesting stat about Vinny Jr. is that he has never for Real Madrid scored in 3 consecutive matches. Never done that since he was 16 years old, which honestly wasn't that long ago. But he was still playing in Brazil. And now he's done that this season in La Liga. And what I want to say is, I may just throw and be devil's advocate here, because throughout this entire season so far, we've been talking about, the race for the Pichichi, and is it going to be Benzema versus Lewandowski? But Vinny Jr. now, is he looking more consistent to you and fully coming into his own? We know he was really impressive last season, but we spoke about certain aspects of his game where he fully needed to mature, which would come with time. We also spoke about how he needed to be more of a presence, especially when Benzema was out, because sometimes he looked lost when he didn't have him to link up with. But now he seems to have hit another level. And do you think we should be talking about maybe Benzema, Vinny Jr. versus Lewandowski for this Pichichi?
I think that both Benzema and Vinicius will be far away from Lewandowski, because the way he scores and the way that Barca creates chances in order Lewandowski to score, I think it's going to be by the end of the season very difficult to get to that level. But there was an interesting debate in Spain these days, because some people in Spain would see Vinicius, since 1 year ago, in which for me was the key point of his career, to say, okay, I'm going to prove why Real Madrid paid that much money for me. And he changed his mind. He changed the way he finalizes in the pitch. Yeah. And I think since then, he has improved a lot. He has grown up a lot. And there was a debate saying, like, is Vinicius now ready to face and to get into the top 5 players worldwide? And I was like, okay, for me, maybe he's not top 5 in that top 5 list of players worldwide, but he could face any of those players in some different games. I think that he's really quick. He's really fast. Now he scores a lot of goals. He's learning, the way to play with Benzema, because, the way they play together is something great. It's something even that we couldn't imagine 2-3 years ago. And I think that maybe he's not in that top 5 list, but he's in the top 10 list for sure. And he's going to be improving a lot in the next months. And I don't know if by the end of the season he will be in that top 5, but at least he will be up there in a couple of years, because he deserves, and he's proving that he's good enough to be up there.
He's still, quite young. I mean, especially if you do compare him to Benzema. So time is on his side as well, too mature. And I mean, it's just seeing him, get to a point where you find that you can't replace him. You almost don't want to take him off the pitch, there.
Imagine, for example, that Real Madrid signed Mbappe.
Yeah.
What would happen? What would have happened with Vinicius? He would switch the side and he would play for the right wing, but it wouldn't be the same.
But then, which is crazy too, because you think of, and we speak to so many of obviously our analysts, like when we're there pitch side, everyone knows like Luis Garcia, and Luis always says that for him, Valverde has become such an important player for Real Madrid as well. And you look at that front three now, and you think if Mbappe were there, how things would have changed. And that's what we're saying now. I think instead of relying on big names, which Real Madrid do have, let's be honest, but they also have the big names, but they are also becoming more of a complete squad, a complete team that knows each other, understands each other's roles, and they're working in that perfect harmony, which I think is something that I personally have seen with Liverpool. And the only team I've seen like that in the last couple of years has been Liverpool, where they have that perfect harmony no matter what. And I think now I've definitely seen it with Real Madrid, and that's going to be a massive, I suppose, plus this season, because like I said, busy season, especially with World Cup. If Real Madrid are going to want to win everything and more that they won last season, which of course they're going to want to. We saw even towards the end last year where they were getting tired on certain occasions, but they still managed to win somehow, especially against the likes of City and Liverpool in the Champions League. But Real Madrid definitely becoming, this superpower, as if they weren't already a superpower, but even more so, almost an unbeatable superpower. So brings me to my next question. Who realistically looks like they can stop Real Madrid anytime soon? I mean, if we look at their next couple of matches, they've got Mallorca at home, will be there again. Then it's the Madrid derby, will be there as well. A bit more eyes on that. Hopefully, if Atletico de Madrid can really, provide that competition. Yes, they did get to win it last year, but again, it was when Madrid had already wrapped up the title. They had their eye on the Champions League final. Then they've got Osasuna at home, Getafe away, and then El Clasico. So which of these teams can really, really stop Real Madrid, do you think, Rodri?
Atletico de Madrid game will be the key moment for Real Madrid to say, okay, we are ready for this or we are not.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.